Thanks for all for coming to our third Zoom meeting. Tonight's subject to be on mental health awareness, presented by Julie Edwards of MP Skills. Over to you, Julie.
Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for attending this evening. I really appreciate being asked to do this as well. I have done a talk like this for the Institute of Quarries for another branch as well, and it's excellent to be asked. I'm really happy with that. I'll just tell you a little bit about me first. I've worked in the industry for 20 plus years now, in the extractive industry, including quarries and mining. I've worked in commercial ops and learning and development, okay. I'm an industry trainer now for Mineral Products Qualification Council, which is the skills part of the business, which is the training arm, which is MP Skills, okay. So that's just a little bit about me. I've been learning about mental health, and I'm a mental health first aid instructor. I've been doing that for the last couple of years. Really enjoy the subject and I'm very passionate about it. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about mental health awareness. I could talk about the subject for hours, but we're just going to touch on the basics, okay? Just to help you guys out, all right? So the subject is mental health awareness, okay? So what I'm going to cover during the presentation, okay? I'm going to do what is mental health, okay? Some facts about mental health as well. We're going to talk a little bit about mental health conditions, risk factors of developing a mental health condition as well. We're also going to look at some protective factors as well, how you can look after your mental health. Mental health in the workplace, obviously, is relevant for today. Self-care, a little bit about self-care and how we look after ourselves, all right? And that is what the presentation is going to look like today, this evening, all right? So what is mental health? A lot of people think mental health, when we say mental health, it's about illness. It's not about illness, it's about looking after ourselves, okay? That is what mental health is, all right? It's how we feel and think and behave in regards to certain situations that we are put in, okay? It's how we cope with the ups and downs of everyday life. Not everybody has had the same upbringing, okay? Some people have been brought up in a nurturing environment, other people haven't, okay? Some people have been subject to neglect and things like that. And that shapes their frame of reference a lot different to someone who's been brought up in a nurturing environment, okay? It's how we see ourselves and our future as well, all right? So it's about what we think of ourselves and what's going to happen to us in the future. That could be about finances, it could be about a number of things, all right? And it's how we deal with the negative things that happen in our lives. Again, it's about those ups and downs, like mentioned already. How we deal with the negative things in our life is very important, okay, to promote good mental health. Our self-esteem and confidence. Some people have excellent self-esteem and confidence, others don't. Again, it depends on how you've been brought up, what you've experienced in your life to where you are today, whether you have good self-esteem and confidence, okay? And how stress affects us as well. Some people have a large stress container. Some people can take a lot of stress. Again, it depends what they've been through in their lives, how much stress they can put up with on a day-to-day basis, okay? So everybody's different. We've all had different parents, we've all had different siblings, we've all had different people in our lives, okay? And that will promote how the stress affects us, all right? The most important message this evening is we all have mental health, okay? We're talking about looking after ourselves. There's no health without mental health. So just a few facts for you in regards to mental health. 1 in 4 people will experience mental health issues in their lifetime. 1 in 6 have symptoms associated with mental ill health. 676 million are affected by mental health issues, and this is worldwide. That is a huge, huge figure, okay? All these figures are from Mental Health First Aid England, okay? It's the largest single source and burden of disease in the UK, okay? In regards to sickness at work, this is one of the largest things that people are suffering with. Some people aren't honest about how they're feeling because of the stigma and discrimination in regards to mental health. People may say they have a physical condition, but it's not actually a physical condition. They're actually hiding the real reason why they're absent from work. Mental health issues and illness are more common than anyone realises, okay? They're more long-lasting and impactful for people in their lives, all right? It can stop them living a normal life, okay? Just a few facts about the construction industry, okay? So a little bit about the construction industry. We would sit under that banner, all right? These are figures from Mental Health First Aid England again, all right? From the construction news, and this is from 2017, okay? These are the most up-to-date figures we have at the moment. So 57% of people in the construction industry have experienced mental health issues. That's massive, that's more than half. 400,000 working days lost in the industry each year due to mental ill health. 400,000 working days. 63% hid the real reason, like I mentioned before, they hid the real reasons for their absence from their employer. And it's due to this stigma and discrimination around mental health. We are on the road to changing that, but we have a long way to go, all right? 30% have taken time off work due to mental health issues. And 1 in 4 construction workers have considered suicide. Our industry is one of the biggest, causation of suicide. We have a very high percentage of people who do take their own lives in our industry. It's very, very high compared to other industries when you do it in comparison, okay? Some of the reasons they say behind that is because it's still quite a man-orientated industry. Right or wrong, that's the thoughts behind it. I think men in general do have a lot more problems talking about the feelings than women. Women are more open, and I think that's just common knowledge, okay? But we need to get better at that. Why can't a man voice their opinions about how they're feeling? There's nothing wrong with that, okay? So what about mental health in the workplace, okay? What can we do in regards to the workplace, whether you're a manager, whether you're a supervisor, whether you're a colleague or you have friends at work? We're all quite a big family, really, in the industry. So if you notice someone is not the usual self, take some time to talk to them, okay? This may only be for a few minutes. I think we're all guilty of actually saying to someone, "Hi, you all right?" and just walking on by and just not listening to the answer. We must try and make that a question that you want to hear the answer to, okay? If you think they are struggling, try and approach them in a safe place. Allow them to talk confidentiality. So make sure it's within confidence and that they trust you to speak to them, okay? Do it in a safe place, maybe a different area, a different office or something, okay? You need to ask how they're feeling and ask if you can help, all right? And do not use your own frame of reference to pass judgment on the person. Just to go over what I said at the beginning about we've all grown up differently, we've all had different parents, we've all grown up in different environments, okay? Some people have gone through traumatic events and that does trigger certain mental health problems for people as well. Do not use negative language, okay? There's a lot more negative language out there in regards to mental health than there is positive words about mental health, and that's been proven, okay, with a lot of research that's been done through Mental Health First Aid England. So don't use words like pull yourself together or cheer up. It won't help someone who's suffering with their mental health, okay? So mental health in the workplace. There used to be a legislation in regards to Mental Health Act. 2013 was brought in, okay? There used to be legislation out there in regards to discrimination against people with mental health, all right? This was only changed in 2013, so it's only 7 years ago, okay? So we have a long way to go with this. It used to stop people who with mental health issues becoming company directors. That has been removed now in 2013. For the legislation that's out there now, you have the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. I'm sure we've all heard of that. We have the Human Rights Act 1998, which is called the HRA for short. We have the Management and Health and Safety at Work Regulations 1999. And we have the Equality Act of 2010, which protects people with disabilities. And that includes people with mental health issues or mental illness, okay? If you do want any other additional information in regards to how to deal with mental health in the workplace, there is a free PDF on Mental Health First Aid's website. It's called MHFA Line Managers Resources. That is free to anyone who wants to download that as PDF. And the information's there for if you want to have a look at that and a little bit more information. Okay, a little bit more about mental health in the workplace. Okay, we need to focus on at the moment where we're talking about we're in the situation with COVID. People have been, some people have been laid off, some people have been working from home. That can be quite traumatic for someone who's used to socialising with people on a daily basis. Okay, so it's up to us to check in on our colleagues to make sure they're okay. All right. So remote working. So if you are remote working, if you're working from home a lot, I know I am at the minute, doing a lot of webinars as such, is try and stick to your normal work routine. That's very important. When you are working from home, it can be difficult to split your home life and your work life. You must make sure you still have that split of when you're home, okay? Put that computer away, etc. Stop checking those emails at midnight, etc., that sort of thing. So separate your workspace from your home space, all right? So I have an office here. This is where I do all my work, including training, etc. I do it all from this desk here. And when I'm finished, I shut the door, shut my computer, and that's me done for the night, okay? You must take regular breaks. It's so easy when you sat in front of your computer at home just to keep working, okay, because you're at home. Make sure you have those regular breaks, have your drinks, make sure you have your lunch, have your breakfast, that sort of thing. Keep in touch with your colleagues, that's very important, especially if someone's on their own, okay? If they're working from home, if they're on their own, it might be an idea just to check in on them now and again, all right? If you are feeling isolated, this is very important. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, or even talk to your other colleagues. So if you're used to going into the office every day, having conversations with your colleagues, you can miss that, okay? You can definitely miss that when you're working from home. If people do need to speak to someone, this is an excellent helpline, okay? It's all right to ask for help. This is for anybody, okay? Samaritans are there to talk to anybody. So if you dial 116123, you'll get through to Samaritans and they will talk to you about anything. They will just be there to listen to you if you need to be listened to, okay? So I just want to talk a little bit about some mental health conditions, okay? So some things such as mood disorder, all right? So that could be things like depression, or bipolar disorder, okay? We've all heard of depression, and bipolar disorder is a mood disorder where you have ideas of mania. So you're at a heightened state, and then it's like a roller coaster. You can hit a really low mood as well, okay? Anxiety disorders. So this could be what we perceive to be OCD, so obsessive compulsive disorder. We do need to be careful. If somebody is suffering from this condition, I think as an organisation, as individuals, we would say, oh, you're so OCD. We have to be careful using those sorts of terminology, okay? Because somebody around you might be suffering from that. And if you call somebody OCD, it may have a detrimental effect on them, okay? And one that we've probably heard of as well, PTSD, that is your post-traumatic stress disorder, okay? It's common in people who've gone through a traumatic event. So a lot of people who were in the London attacks and the bombings, and also the Manchester bombings as well, a lot of, especially children, are suffering from PTSD because of that. General anxiety disorders, that's anxieties about most things in life. You generalize your anxiety, so you're frightened of a lot of things in your life, and it stops you from moving forward, okay? You can't move forward in your life because you have these anxieties, okay? Panic disorders as well, and phobias as well is a real disorder, okay? When we talk about phobias, people say, oh, I'm frightened of spiders and things like that. That's absolutely fine, but it doesn't stop you running your normal life because of that, okay? So psychotic disorders, bipolar disorder can sit under this as well, because you can't have the same symptoms as psychotic episode. Okay, so we call it psychosis. So psychosis where you have hallucinations, etc. And you have thought disorders in regards to you think things are happening to you that isn't perceived to be normal, okay? Very similar to schizophrenia, okay? Schizophrenia, a lot of people say it splits personality. That is actually the incorrect term for schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is derived from it's called split mind, okay? So you have thought disorders. You think things happen to you and they don't. It's not split personality. That's the wrong thing to say in regards to schizophrenia, okay? Eating disorders as well is a mental health condition. It's shortened to ED. You have things like anorexia. You have bulimia. And you have binge eating as well. So when we're talking about anorexia, obviously you can see if somebody's struggling there. Bulimia as well. Bulimia is when you have purging behaviours. So you eat food and then you purge it back up and you throw up. And people also take laxatives as well. Binge eating disorder is when you consume large amounts of food and you can't stop eating it, even if you're not hungry, okay? But these are behaviours of someone who is struggling with mental health, okay? There's an underlying issue there that they are struggling with, and they find this a control mechanism through the eating, okay? It's normally nothing to do with food. It's just a way of coping with something in your life that you can control because something else in your life you feel is out of control, okay? Self-harm. This is a behaviour, not an illness. It can be associated to other mental health conditions, okay? I know people who have suffered from self-harm. Sometimes it's something to do with self-worth. Something's happened to them in their lives and it's a way they've got control over things that are going on in their life, okay? But there are 265 disorders in total. So we would be on quite a long time talking about them all. But that's just a real snippet of some of the conditions to be aware of in regards to mental health conditions, okay? So we're going to talk now about some risk factors in regards to looking after your mental health, okay? Alcohol and substance misuse. A lot of people drink alcohol and use substances to drown out whatever else is going on in their lives, okay? This could be down to something's happened, they've gone through a traumatic event. So they're using alcohol and substance misuse because they think it's going to raise the mood, but actually it's a depressant, okay? And it means they're going to end up with issues, probably with the mental health if they keep using that as a coping mechanism, okay? Neglect. So I've mentioned a lot of people are brought up in a nurturing environment. Some people have really gone through a lot of neglect in their lives, okay? And that can obviously result in people struggling with the mental health and having low self-esteem as well. So a traumatic life event can be different from everyone, okay? It depends if you're struggling already, if you've suffered with neglect. A traumatic life event can really contribute to that as well. So when we think about trauma, it could be a bereavement. It could even be something like going through a divorce or a separation. It's different for everyone, okay? If we want to talk a little bit about trauma, we could probably think about individual traumas, such as somebody who's gone through an accident, maybe a car accident, or maybe assault as well, can be quite traumatic, obviously, in your life. Ongoing traumas, if we talk about ongoing traumas, that could be abuse, neglect, or even bullying. Okay, so people who have struggled from bullying through their lives tend to have low self-esteem. Sometimes it continues into adulthood as well. Unemployment obviously can affect us as well, especially in regards to self-esteem. If you're made redundant or you're unemployed for a certain length of time, if you worked from leaving school and then all of a sudden you don't have a job, it can be quite hard-hitting for people. Physical illness. When we talk about physical illness, we're talking about somebody who's suffering with an illness, okay? This could be a person's going to struggle with their mental health because maybe they can't do things they've always done in their lives, okay? So it's a life-changing event for them. But when we're talking about physical illness, we're talking about people around them as well. Talking about family and friends. Family and friends who are looking after someone, especially with a a chronic illness, they can suffer also with their mental health as well, okay? Disability, obviously, you can struggle with your mental health. And low self-esteem. Some people do have low self-esteem. They've been brought up, they have low self-esteem. Unfortunately, that can have an impact, obviously, on your mental health as well. And the environment, so that could be an environment you've been brought up in or the environment you're living in at the moment, okay? Genetics can actually play a part in risk factors as well. So if you have somebody who's suffering from a mental illness in your family, genetically your risks are greater to develop a mental health issue or struggle with your mental health. So that's a little bit about risk factors, okay? What about protective factors? We need to think about protective factors. So what can we do to look after ourselves? Have good self-belief, okay? And people believe in you. Problem solving, communicating and coping skills, okay? Being able to solve problems, okay, makes you feel good. Good relationships, so have good relationships, okay? Being in loving relationships, have good relationships in regards to friends and family. That's an absolutely brilliant protective factor. But it can have a negative effect if you don't have those good relationships in your life as well. And a big thing as well, nutrition and good diet, okay? Eating the right foods can protect your mental health as well. Because if you eat the wrong food, sometimes it can make you sluggish. Sometimes it can deprive you of sleep as well. Rest and activity. Rest and activity is very, very important, okay? You need to make sure you're getting that rest for yourselves. Make sure you get that self-care. Make sure you can spend some time for yourself, okay? Whether that's mindfulness. Social support networks, be involved in groups, okay? Physical activity, I do quite a bit of exercise, enjoy it. I feel like it gives me a lot of headspace and that works for me. It doesn't work for everyone, but it certainly works for me. And reward and work and fulfillment. Probably an example of that at the moment would be the likes of people who have helped with the NHS in regards to COVID-19, maybe doing shopping for your neighbours or your parents or whatever. Just do something like that or volunteer. It makes you feel good and it does help with your mental health, okay? So what about self-care? What do I mean by self-care? We're talking about having some time for ourselves and times to reflect, okay, in our lives. Make sure you're getting that rest, time for yourself. Make sure you have those support networks around you as well. So it is important you look after your own well-being. So if you are a manager or a supervisor and you do have people who are struggling with their mental health, it's important that you're there for them to speak to, but you have to be mindful of your own well-being as well, okay? The mental health first aiders that I train, I always say, it's good for you to be there to be that support person for them, but you must make sure you look after your own well-being as well, okay? You can't take everybody else's problems on your shoulders. Reach out for some help if you need it. Find ways to reduce your stress, okay? Whether that be some of the protective factors that I've mentioned, doing some exercise. Some people say they like to take the dogs for a walk, get some fresh air, that sort of thing. Communicate with others when you need to. Don't be frightened to say to someone that you're struggling. Even if in your work environment, if you're struggling with some of your work, speak up, okay? Say, I'm struggling. Or if you're at home and you're struggling being on your own, just speak up to your colleagues or your friends and family. Exercise again. Mindfulness, so getting that headspace. I use an app called Calm. I was struggling to sleep sometime in my life, and I use an app called Calm, and it tells you stories and it helps you go to sleep, and I find that helps me. That's a mindfulness app. You can get apps such as Headspace as well to get that reflection and just go through your day on your own, okay, and get that reflection to yourself. Then you've got talking. Talking's very important, okay? Talking to whoever you trust, people who are maybe you're there at work with, making sure you having those trust conversations with people. Sleeping, like I mentioned, sleep deprivation can have a terrible effect on your mental health. It can make you drowsy. It can affect your concentration, etc. People who sometimes have been severely deprived of sleep, have been known to have psychotic episodes in regards to voices and things like that. So just to finish off that self-care, you have to realise that self-care isn't selfish, okay? You need that time for yourself. If you have that time for yourself, it reflects on everybody around you as well, your friends, your family, your colleagues. So make sure you have that to yourself as well, all right? So they say 30 minutes to an hour a day for you, even if it's just going out for a walk around the block, whatever that looks like, 30 minutes or an hour, for even just to chill out in the bath, have time with your kids, whatever it looks like for you. Make sure you're getting that time in regards to self-care. It's very important, okay? Because we don't want anybody suffering with the mental health, all right? Just on the back of just a bit about me, again, I deliver a half-a-day awareness course for MP skills. I also do a mental health first aid champion course, which is aimed at line managers. And I have done a number of mental health first aiders. I think I've trained about 500 in the last couple of years, and they're throughout the industry. Just promote your own well-being, makes you understand about mental health, about the facts about it. And what we've spoken about today goes into a lot more detail, okay? And we share a lot of lived experience in that as well, all right? Okay, so that is me, okay? Just wondering if anybody's got any questions at all on that.
Thank you for the presentation. And we haven't seen anything on the chat as yet, but I did have something that was emailed into me during the week from one of our members who is a mental first aider themselves. They've gone through the training. And what they were kind of asking was, what help and advice would you give mental first aiders in terms of how to really identify those that are in genuine need, as opposed to people who just might be voicing some, unhappiness, because there is a scale there, isn't there, unfortunately, and it's making sure that the resources and the support and the help goes to the people who most need it, basically. Of
course there is. In regards to that, I would say if somebody is really suffering with a mental health, they should get professional help anyway. So even if it's a conversation with that person, if they say they're struggling, maybe have that conversation, try and help them with certain things that they have issues with. Is it to do with work? Is it to do with family? Try and highlight what the issues are first. If it's work, you may be able to deal with it, okay? If somebody is off sick and they say they've got an issue with the mental health, they need to speak to a professional to get that, okay? So once they've spoken to the professional, hopefully they'll get that help they need, all right? And make sure that if they are being signed off by a professional, genuinely anyway, they'll either get some medication for it or some sort of therapy like CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, that sort of thing, if they need that. And they should be signed off by a doctor if it is quite debilitating for them and they can't come to work. So that's the only answer I can really give on that. And it's obviously down to the line managers and the supervisors how well they know those people as well, whether they know if they are actually suffering or not. It's how well you know the person as well. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you.
All right. Anybody got anything else at all?
Yeah, Julie, Tim Harvey, I'd just like to say that I've done the mental health training with you.
Oh, hi, Simon.
No, it's Tim.
Oh, I thought you said Simon.
Yeah, just if anyone does get the chance to do the course, it's an absolutely brilliant course, and obviously you cover it in a lot more depth than we've done just now, but it is really worthwhile doing, so I'm selling it on your behalf, Julie.
Thank you, Tim. Sorry, I said Simon because the name's on the screen.
Yeah.
Yes, I recognise your voice.
That's because I sent Tim the link.
Oh, right. I didn't realise you had two Simons. Sorry about that.
Well, they're both me.
All right, thank you.
Difference is I'm the good-looking one.
Thank you for that, Tim. So if anybody's interested, give MP Skills a shout or give me a shout. I'll give out my mobile if anyone wants to give me a ring. Quite happy to come out and do some training for you.
Sorry, I've got a quick question for you, if that's right. We're just doing something at the moment where we're looking at sort of mental health sort of pre-use checks, if you like, on people. What we're saying is we're putting our operatives sometimes into machines that can be
Yeah.
30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 ton machines.
Yeah.
And how often are we checking on these guys and their mental health? Now, because of the way things have progressed, because of COVID and my life at the minute at work is living on Microsoft Teams, basically.
Yes.
And about how easy it is for someone to come and knock on the door anyway. It's difficult for an operative to come and knock on the manager's door and ask to talk to them. So it's hard, it can be harder now because like I say, we're living on Microsoft Teams, we're in meetings, we've got headsets on and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of anything or any company or anywhere before that has done some sort of mental health pre-use check, if you like, on an operative, giving them the chance to talk about, to someone who's going through anything other than coming and knocking on an office door?
So what are you talking about? A daily conversation? What is it you're talking about?
Daily, weekly, just any sort of means of communication that's different to, because the hardest thing is like, for me, I think the hardest thing is to come and knock on the door, because that's the start of a conversation. So have you come across any other method or means where it may make communication between operative supervisor, operative manager, that little bit easier?
The only thing I can suggest really is it Will or William.
Either or. Will do. If you call me William, it feels like I'm going to get sold off by my mum.
Will, the only thing I can suggest really is having those regular conversations, or maybe put them through some sort of training, and try and normalise it as much as possible in your organisation. Mental health is very common. People have issues with the mental health. Mental illness is very common as well, and it's trying to normalise that. But it might be just maybe speaking to them and giving them a little bit of training or a little bit of awareness about it. Maybe sharing this video. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing to speak of to say there's something for operatives, specific for operatives. But I would certainly ask the question to see if anybody else has anything you can use. I think
so. I think it's interesting because I think it's breaking the stigma to start with. Yeah. But again, it's because we all, live on these virtual meetings for a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in process of developing something at the minute where what we're calling it a virtual knock on the door.
Right.
So we'll maybe look at digitising pre-use inspections, things like that. And at the end of that pre-use inspection, you will you'll basically be asked mental health questions, but we're going to have to find our way around that because of GDPR. So that's not as straightforward as it seems. But, if you can alert a line manager when you've completed your previous inspection, before you jump on a machine that operates at 120 ton, whatever it may be, you've got that virtual opportunity to send a notification and say you might not be feeling like you should be driving that machine that day, for whatever reason it may be.
Yeah, I'm not doing a sales pitch on here. That's not what I'm doing. I think if they're unaware and they're not aware of the stigma discrimination, maybe they do need a bit of training, even an awareness course, just to normalise it as much as possible for them. They can be done online. They don't have to be done face-to-face. Mm-hmm. That's obviously up to you. If you want to do that, that's up to you.
No, that's great. Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
That's all right. No problem. Anybody else got anything? I'm here.
Yeah, Julie, it's Tim Harvey again.
Hiya, Tim.
Yeah, just a quick one. A lot of the majors, we do like stress audits of our staff.
Right.
How sort of useful do you think they are? Or do you think they're just like a box ticking exercise that a lot of companies do just to say they've done something?
Well, I haven't seen what your stress test or whatever that looks like, so I can't really comment on the content. So what is it? What do you think they're effective? What do you think, Tim?
I think they're a general indicator, but because obviously it's just like a checklist, and then people are ticking how stressed they feel and how overworked they are. Mm-hmm. They feel they can talk to the management and things like that. They're an indicator, but how useful they are, I didn't know. If you'd come across them with other people and what you thought to them.
In the training, people have mentioned that they have regular conversations with the staff. Nobody's really mentioned a ticky box exercise, to be fair. But I would say if you have other support from other mental health first aiders, it might be a forum to ask them what they do in their part of the business as well. And if they think it's effective, And as mental health first aids, you've got a number of you in Hanson now, haven't you? And I would definitely speak to them and say, right, okay, are we happy with these? Do we want to have some influence on these? Do they need to look better? Do the conversations need to go differently? I would try and do that, Tim, because you've got a lot of voices there, mental health first aiders in your organisation now.
Yeah, we have, yeah. I must admit, I'm lucky, I've got a small team, so we do a lot of one-to-ones anyway into them.
Yeah.
You know, if you're somewhat like Payswood, where you got, 150, 200 people, you'd probably struggle to get around them, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, that's why you've got a number of mental health first aiders now, haven't you? In your organisation, you've got quite a number of them now. So, is that all, Tim, or did you want to add something else? Or
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Will, just going back to what you said, I've mentioned obviously that line manager's resource as well, that's available for Mental Health First Aid England, and it's about having conversations with your staff as well. I can certainly send that over to Sarah if she wants to send that out as a PDF, and you can have a read through that, and you might pick something up from that as well, Will.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Yeah, I mean, we have done a mental health first aid presentation with our HR director, and then we've rolled out in the network with the quarry managers and supervisors as part of a training. I just would like to take it that little bit further if we can. I really like what Tim's just said there about the sort of stress audit. Be interesting to know how your guys feel about taking that, Tim, and if there's any sort of actions that come from it, really. I do. I just think we can. It's great. We've trained myself. We've trained our supervisor. And we've got that contact now, which is something we've not done before. But I just wonder how much further we can take it to make it easier to start that conversation. And we live digitally these days, and I just think that may be the way to do it. And I'm not sure. That's why I asked if you'd seen anything like it before, because it's something we'd like to develop really, where we can, make that connection between operatives and managers, because we do have to spend a lot of time on meetings, and and it may be that they get the confidence. My concern is that an operative would get the confidence to come to the door, knock on the door, and say, I'm having X problem, and get there and hear the speaker, see the headset, and think, I'll come back later, and then that confidence goes, and then that conversation never happens. So that's my angle on it, really, and what I think is an option to develop.
Okay, well, all right. I'll send that information over for you again. Training will be beneficial, I think, but yeah, I'll send you some information over anyway, and there's some useful resources in there for you anyway, and you can have a look through that. I'll give my number out as well to Sarah, and if anybody wants to give me a ring about anything afterwards, then I'm quite happy for you to do that as well. If I don't answer straight away, I'll certainly ring you back if you leave me a message.
Please do that, Julie, because and it's my turn to kind of like chuck in a couple of pennies worth from the IQ perspective. But for those of you that have downloaded the IQ Connect app, there's a section on there called Mental Health Awareness, and actually there's a list of resources in that section to the organisations that Julie's already mentioned. In fact, MPQC is on there, and there is a link to Julie's past presentation that she's put out on this very subject. There's also links to things like the toolkits that are available from the HSE, from Mates in Mind, from the mental health organisation as well. So there's a number of really good, useful resources that are there for IQ members should they want to kind of dip into it. But Julie, happy to add anything else that you think needs to go into that kind of like toolkit and resource list of people to reference.
Yeah, I've got a number of resources I can send over to Sarah, as well as the manager's resources. I'll send you a few bits and pieces over so you can have a look through. If you want to send those out to members, that's entirely up to you.
Perfect, thank you.
Just a quick one, Will. If you do want to have a look at a template for the stress audit, if you send us a quick email, I can send a template across for you to have a look at.
No, that would be great, Tim. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay, bud.
Julie, you touched on the mental health champion course and the mental health first aid course. I have myself been on a champion course. What's the advantage of going on the first aid course? Obviously, it's a longer course, but what more content would I experience from that?
There's a lot of videos and lived experience that you'll learn of people who've gone through certain, who are struggling with the mental health, who've got mental illness as well. We'll go in a lot of more detail in regards to what disorders and what to spot. There's a lot of information that will be given out to you in a manual as well, and it'll give you a lot of useful resources in regards to algae, which is the mental health mnemonic in regards to helping having those conversations. And we do a lot of practice in regards to case studies as well. And we do a lot of work on how to have those conversations with certain individuals as well. Obviously, Tim's been in the course and he enjoyed it. There's a lot more experience you'll get from that course than you would from the one-day course.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it's something that we need to follow up. We've got a lot of champions at our work, but not any first aiders as such, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to normalise the mental health first aiders as they're as important, if not more important, than your physical first aiders anyway. It should just be normal in organisations now.
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you again for letting me do this. I've really enjoyed it. It's lovely to meet you all.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for giving us a talk. I'm sure it opened everyone's views on mental health and given a little bit more awareness and where we can look up the courses, etc.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Julie. Thanks for listening to me.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. Stay safe, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.